at that. We're already signing books over here. You guys can't see behind the scenes. Nick's just signing away. We have a ton of books. How are you, Albert Ramos?
Albert,
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Jason,
nice to meet you. Wonderful.
Yeah, so we've been having guests on the show. We're live, by the way. Here at the SMU DFW Leadership Symposium. That is a mouthful.
You're always missing out.
Kellogg. Cox. How many names does this thing have? They got a lot of good food, and it's sponsored by 7-Eleven. We love it.
Is it a brand salad?
It is a brand salad, but I like it. It's been an amazing, a lot of energy, and we have people from all over. But let's chat about you. Why don't you introduce yourself? And we have a pretty large audience that's tuning in, and we'd love to learn more about you.
Thank you, Albert, and thank you, Jason. I'm Venki Shankar. I'm a professor of marketing, and I hold the Harold Briley Chair of Marketing, and I'm also an academic director here at the SMU Cox School of Business.
Amazing.
And I am a director of the institute called BICE, stands for Briley Institute of Customer Engagement. So there's a lot of names in here, but I am excited to be part of this. I'll be speaking today, and I'm also an alum of Kellogg. So
excellent.
It's a double pleasure.
This is excellent. And
it's a great campus. Yeah. I mean, thanks for inviting us. And
you're welcome. Awesome. Yeah, when you get a chance, make sure that you visit every corner of the campus.
Oh, we can't wait. It's beautiful. I parked by the stadium, and I'm a previous college football player, so I can't wait to check it out.
Nice.
I went to a school called Occidental College, small little private school out in LA. Go Tigers. Yo Triumphi. This is perfect timing. We didn't plan this. We just had a whole segment here earlier with Ben. And a lot of what we were chatting about was marketing and how AI is transforming the marketing space. We touched on SEO. We touched on using agents to capture certain, things to drive article or content or newsletters, and
also the multimodal piece,
right?
And how that's going to change. That it's no longer SEO based on text. It's how you do SEO based on voice and video.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, in the classroom and in the university, what is now kind of the run of show and being taught that we have this new technology at our fingertips, right? So the traditional marketing models, right? The traditional education around marketing, I'm sure, is evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're living, breathing as we speak. This is the evolution. This is an exciting time to be in the classroom, in both teaching as a student, because we're all constantly evolving and learning as technology is evolving, AI is evolving. In fact, as a matter of fact, I teach right in this very venue a class on digital marketing and AI, particularly the EMBA students, and we are actually doing exactly what you're talking about. We're actually implementing some of the things in AI. Students, I call them participants because the EMBA students are very experienced there, having their day jobs. Right. They're still coming and doing. Hats off to them, and they're learning to use all the AI tools. They're learning to learn better, and so that they can perform better. And also, my job is to really give the frameworks and make them think more creatively, and how they will be envisioning themselves and performing in a future world where AI and human will be complements to each other. Yeah. So how do we best make use of the hybrid to be more effective managers, more effective leaders, more effective marketers?
Let's run through it. I'd love to cut through it, and I do this quite a bit, right? Is I like to chat about, is there augmentation, right? Do you have another tool in your toolkit, or is it replacement, or a mixture of the two? And in the marketing world, what does that look like? What role that existed maybe even 12 months ago, 24 months ago, what roles don't need to be filled anymore because of AI and agents and all of that agentic workflows? We were touching on that a little bit earlier, but from your lens, and as you're working with, I'm sure you have a ton of C-suite, including chief marketing officers in there. What is everyone seeing? What is everyone talking about? Well, we don't need this, but we need that.
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
It is evolving even as we speak. As you rightly said, agentic AI is here. It is actually enhancing generative AI, Gen AI. And what we are witnessing in the marketing spheres, if you think about marketing, fundamentally it's all about customer value enhancement, right? How do you identify customer value? how to create the customer value, how to deliver that value, how to capture the value by revenues and pricing and profitability. So what it means is to also deliver a world-class experience on a continuing basis.
Right.
So what it means is that when you use agentic AI, which refers to systems that can autonomously
Right.
do the decision making, and it can also do with minimum human interventions,
Right.
right? It can optimize the workflows, right? And then also react dynamically as it encounters things in the marketplace. Think about the whole value chain of the business, right? Right from no matter what industry you are in, what business you are in, whether it's manufacturing services um, or a hybrid of that, and how do you basically work back from the customers, right? So starting with the customer interactions, right? It will be hyper personalized with agents. Now you can actually, Albert, I can give you the offering that you always dreamed of,
Hyper personalized.
right?
Yeah.
And I can treat Jason like he's the king, right?
I like that.
and of course, who doesn't want
Yeah,
it like that, right? So that's from the customer interaction. Then what about the customer service angle, right?
Right.
How can be a dream to get your problem solved intelligently, quickly, optimally, efficiently, right? And from the workflow standpoint of view, managers should not be under stress, right? I can delegate tasks to the agents. The agent can learn
I love
and
that.
then perform that. And I can be an orchestrator, right? And a manager of agents, right? And that is going to be the vision that we are moving forward to.
I love that. And so there's a couple of mentorship groups and leadership groups that I'm in, and people are asking, well, what does the leader of the future look like? And it's exactly what you're saying is you will be an orchestrator.
Exactly.
Your communication skills are more important than ever before. Your creativity and your vision, being a visionary is so important because in the future, actually now,
Oh yeah.
I get so used to saying it's it's in the future.
is here.
It's actually now. You need to be able to delegate, know who and what to delegate. And I say who, is it human intervention? Is it some sort of agentic workflow, agent, right? I know Nick likes to really get out in the future about humanoids and all that, but it's coming. It's being built. We see it. But as a leader, and I'm sure many in your classroom, that's what you're teaching them, right? To think this is different. You have to think differently. It's no longer just human task, human this and that. It's much different than that. And it's not having to be technical, right? You mentioned lovable.
The bar is now for technical ability is level for everyone. Anyone
Right.
has the ability to do that. But one of the questions I have is, what is the biggest challenges your students are facing as they're learning this new way that they're going to take back into the organization of adopting AI?
Right. So if you think about my student audience, I'd like to think in terms of different groups of people. So if you have the undergraduates, you have the graduates who are include the MBA, and you have the executives. They're all at different levels in terms of learning, in terms of capabilities, in terms of responsibilities. So we want to see, if you look at the undergrad, they are mostly digital natives. We were talking about generations. We were talking about most of the Gen Zs are, and now Gen Alphas may be coming into the classroom very quickly in a few years now, time. And we have to start thinking about what are they natively endowed with, what are the mindsets, and how do they change. So if you look at the current landscape, we have a lot of Gen Zs in undergrad, and they're very exciting. They have tremendous.
They're digital natives. They
natives,
grew up with their own
yeah,
iPhone.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. Is that they already have that, and so they're looking forward to really seeing how they can
Take it to the
use
next
all
level.
these things and still be a responsible leader
Right.
going forward. And so there are some uncertainties about how this might play. So they need opportunities. They need jobs. They need jobs that leverage their skills, and also they need an environment where they can also learn about the mature world of tomorrow, right?
Right.
And so that is there. If you look at the MBAs or the master's students, they already have the basic training and framework, and they are trying to see at the advanced level, how do I actually, incorporate all this technology and become a knowledge worker. If you think about the term knowledge worker is somebody that actually is now going to orchestrate, as you said before.
I stole it from you.
Right, exactly. We're both orchestrating this.
Yes.
So orchestrate the knowledge, basically, and how do we actually
Knowledge worker.
right? So the knowledge work itself is becoming the item that is optimized. Okay, where the workflow with the agentic and future towards where we can instantaneously optimize, right? Uh, AI is going one step above the humans in terms of the speed in which it actually performs things and the precision, right? The precision is improving. And so when they have the capability to make decisions on their own, on the fly, in the environment, and they can execute things better than human beings, that's when the human beings have to look at that. And if you look at my executive audience, that's what they have to be looking at, say, hey, how do I plan this whole? So think about an artist, right? I'm actually having a palette and I'm designing how this landscape is going to be. How am I going to orchestrate? How am I going to put the paints, the backgrounds, the sceneries, and other things? I've got a lot of agents in here, right? Human agents and AI agents, and I am trying to optimize that, right? And I want to be in a situation where my value to the organization or to the world, a society, is higher.
Yeah.
And how do I perform that? For that, I need an understanding. I need some forward thinking. I need also the tools that you talked about.
Right.
I need to know how to use this.
So I'm curious about this as you're teaching your executive MBA students to be that orchestrator, right? Now, we at White Glove, we talk a lot about AI adoption. We have a framework to do that, right? And one of the things we say is don't go quickly to integration, right? There's the evaluations, there's a governance and different
setting
layers.
a strategy, understanding what
Right.
your goals are, because many people have tried, they've got a solution they want to automate, but the technology's not there to do that.
Sure.
And so they waste a lot of time. So we would love to hear about how you think people should be adopting AI.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because right now people are in a state of, shall we say,
Yeah, what is
shock.
it? Yeah, what is it?
Yeah,
Shock.
because the shock is happening because almost every day you open anything.
We have a morning show. We know it's literally
right.
What is going on. There's
Right.
something
You know,
different
you
every
have
day.
you have the DeepSeek coming out with this game changer,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, OpenAI is releasing 2 or 3.
Grok.
And then Gronk comes
right,
out,
Grok
Kimmy
sometimes,
comes out.
right? So people are like, oh, what is going on,
Sure.
right? Paralyzed. So do I take a step back? And I mean, people cannot think very clearly, and also they don't want to invest in it, and so on. So much so that Apple, which was sitting on the sidelines, everybody's now thinking Apple's doing a good thing because they didn't move too much and then lose something. But is that the good thing? That's where I think the human.
Can we talk about that? Because we were just chatting about that. I'm a big Microsoft guy,
Okay.
right? And
Now, let's not get into.
I'm just saying.
Battle.
I'm just saying. And you're right.
Yeah.
Apple's been on the sidelines. They have the most cash. What are they doing?
Right.
I'm just, anyways.
So the point is, let's leave aside the tech companies,
Right.
but most of the companies are basically users of technologies, right?
Yes.
And so they are trying to figure out, how is this landscape going to evolve? How should my business evolve? And so it is almost like, you have an ecosystem.
Sure.
And you have user companies, you have technology providers, you have service companies, and you have manufacturers. All these sectors have to come together,
Right.
Because it's no good if your company's all on the leading edge and your customers, let's say you're in B2B, your customers are not there, so all your adoption is not going to add value. But at the same token, if customers are already there and you're not there, that's a big problem, right?
So what's your recommendation? What are your students going through? And is there any specific case studies or maybe even capstone projects that we can release here early?
Yeah.
How are they using what they're learning in the marketing front to close that gap? We're trying to do the same thing, right? Because you're right. There's so much out there. People take a step back because it's just unknown. It's almost like I'm not
AI
sure
literacy is going to be something that we're going to have to invest in
Right.
as a government. I know it was part of the new National AI Advisory Council
Right.
as a key thing of focusing on AI literacy for the entire country.
Right, definitely. So there are two aspects in here to keep in mind. One is understanding and distilling what is going on, right? Which is in a way that's meaningful for learning. And let's face it, the face of learning has changed,
Yes.
right? The pace of learning has changed. The face of all of it. We are now. You said multimodal. We are multimodal learners. We are continuous learners, and we are constantly learning. Everybody's learning, including me, every day, right? The
Yeah.
greatest thing about my job that I
Still.
love is I learn much more quickly,
Great
and
approach.
this is great.
Love that.
So one is the learning aspect, and the other thing is implementation aspects. Whatever you learn, you have to put it to use for the value generation for your organization. And so that is where I think we have to, the good strategic thinkers are thinkers who are thinking like, here, I from my learning, I understand this is how different scenarios are going to look like, right? This is how we need to be prepared, right? And here are, almost think like a decision tree, right? Here are the ways in which it can evolve. Here's how I can be prepared. So what's the minimum investment I have to make in this? And what's the boldest investments that I can make in here? Where is it that I can make a difference to my customers' values?
Our audience is getting a free MBA course right now. This is
So
excellent.
I would
Thank you.
love to get your opinion. Both Albert and I have young children, 5 to 7.
Sure.
What do you think the future of education is for those as they get to your class when they get into their undergrad?
We may not be able to sit here and predict. If I were to predict, I'll be, I'll be a sage. But the point is that I think the greatest thing about the future of education is that we should be willing to learn differently.
Yeah.
We should be willing to adapt our learning, right? So your children, who are probably Gen Alphas, and then by the way, 220, 2025, we're already, today's children are going to be Gen Betas,
Yeah.
right? So we're really fast approaching a lot of different kinds of generational shifts in terms of technology, in terms of learning. So one good thing is that we don't have to, they will figure it out, right? And I think that's and by, who knows, by 2030, in 5 years from now, we will have a lot of changes that'll be more permanent, that we'll say, okay, this has come here to stay. And this is probably passe, fad, and this will move on. And what's the next generation, right? And I think that is where the scope is. I think we should stop worrying about what our kids are going to be, how they're going to be. They will integrate and evolve, right? And just like, we just have to be willing to, right? Willing ourselves to learn and evolve, and let them learn and evolve, right?
So curious, because we've been talking a lot about agents and AI, and we've chatted about this on the morning show a bit. What I feel like is flying under the radar, speaking of tech giants, Meta, right? They have a pretty sizable investment in virtual reality, which is flying low key. And I think it's something big's going to happen here. In the marketing space, I mean, when I put my Quest Meta, whatever, 3S, whatever it is now, that's all I think about is, wow, the marketing capabilities that this thing can have. Are you all chatting about that? And where should we feel like that's going?
Yeah, this is what I call the imagination verse.
Oh, I love it.
Right? So in other words, we're basically alternative universe, alternative realities, right? You can call it virtual reality, augmented reality.
You seen that movie Ready Player One?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like that.
That's an old. So, we are all human beings. What separates us from maybe machines? One of the characteristics is that we can dream and think differently, different scenarios. Our mind is infinitely capable, tool that we can, and so we need those every now and then to go and really, go there, experience, and come back.
Sure.
If you like the real world. That's why we take vacations, escapes, as whatever you call. So there's going to be a vibrant market for that, right? And we talk about metaverse and all of these things. The question was, what Facebook too ahead of its time? Probably yes, because the infrastructure and the ecosystems were not developed, and also COVID hit, and we had a lot of, when people's basic needs started becoming more important,
right?
The growth takes a backseat. But having said that, with all these new developments coming in, gaming is an eternal need for a lot of people, right? Because um, uh, we want to be enjoying, some things that experiences that we cannot get in real life in good measure. And so that's why I think there's going to be that. But what is interesting is that because the technological capability is going to enhance, so we are going to see it as alternative imagination verse. It's going to be as good as real. So we are going to be torn between, how much
Wow.
do we have to be in imagination verse versus this, right?
Yeah, what if you enjoy it more?
Right. And that's where I think uh, some of the ethical issues will start happening, right? Because what is right? Can somebody be, spending all their, 90% of their life on that? We cannot probably do that,
Absolutely.
right? Because we have to have some physical needs.
Now, you mentioned customer experience, right, and experience in general.
Right.
I see this imagination reality, this virtual reality being a big part in it, right? I'd love to attend your course, but if I can't physically be in your
Right.
classroom,
You can experience
I
it.
would love to be immersed in the experience, be as almost as if I was this close to you
Right.
in real life
Exactly.
as we are now. And I see that's where it's going, right? We're seeing it in the sports venue. I think they're starting it in soccer, but imagine being able to be on a podcast and the marketing licenses, the seats that you can license out, right? Or the sponsorship opportunities in an immersive experience.
Absolutely, you're thinking on the right lines. We have to be in a free agent verse where anybody can avail of anything, anytime, on demand, right? Whether it's imagination verse or whether it's a reality, they can have a combination of that. And if you have that kind of capabilities, it'll be an embarrassment of riches, right? You have so much to choose from.
Right.
But now you need a coordinating mechanism, right?
Exactly.
Because you need, people
Guardrails.
guardrails, and also you have to help guide people, right? Because people, not everybody's able to decide everything. What is the best thing for them? So that's when we use some of this agentic AI as an optimizing tool. So think about what we are talking about, agentic AI for businesses. If every individual has it tomorrow, right? If I have the power to delegate agents to do all the job, right? So think about today, I had to set an alarm, wake up in the morning, do my morning stuff, and then come here.
I got
to
I got a 4 a.m. morning call from Nick, and he's right next door. I'm like, Nick, I'm awake. You can hear my alarm. Why are you calling me? I'm right next. I'm in your house.
4 a.m. is.
It was more. It was
tough.
it was an early morning.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that if I can delegate many of my jobs and even have a thinking agent which says, do I really need to do this? Do I really need to do that? How do I prioritize my life, right? And so I imagine if I were to spell out what I love most about in life, what I don't love, let it optimize on a day-to-day basis what I should be doing,
Yeah.
right?
You can do that now.
So
That's great.
yeah, if I can do that, then I don't have to. The greatest challenge for human beings is, how do I go about my life, knowing these are the things I like, those are the things I like. I have to sit down and do these choices myself. I have to scan the environment. I have to do all this.
Right.
What if it's all done for me, right? And
Here's the scary part. We were talking about this at breakfast, right? So we start to rely and leverage these tools, right? And it knows what we love, so we'll continue those, right? That's to our benefit, our utility, and the things that we don't, let's offload. That being said, there was something recently that happened to me in the workspace, and it was like, hey, you need to go do X. I didn't have my AI available, so I'm like, wait a second, I can't remember how to do this, and that was a little scary to me. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah, we are so dependent on these tools. Think about Google Maps, right? I don't know if you remember, there was a time in which we used to drive without maps.
The map book, my dad used to bring out the map book and like E7. I'm like,
how did I navigate some of these complex cities?
Exactly.
I just stopped and asked someone.
Exactly. Now, if your maps is not working, or if you're out of juice in your navigator, or if you use a smartphone, then you're stuck, right? You have to pull over somewhere, and you have to
go to 7-Eleven.
Go to
7-Eleven and ask them, like, do you have a map or something?
Exactly. Or AAA. I don't know if it's a AAA trip. But it's like this. The world is coming to a situation where we're going to be dependent on a lot of these tools. So that is why I emphasize in my class. I teach the frameworks, the fundamentals, so that if you are going to be successful managers, if somebody comes and says, "This is the optimal decision today," right? Spend $100 million on this. You got to be able to tell whether it makes sense or not, right? And so that's the capability that uh, I want to make sure that everybody who who is in my class understands. They don't just use it as a black box. They
Sure.
understand what are the capabilities, what are the questions I need to ask to make sure that the agent did the right job, or the Gen AI gave me the right answer, and so on. So that's the capability for that. Think about it. How we have evolved in terms of our learning, right? We used to use tables, right, for multiplication tables,
Yes, I remember
right?
that.
Wow.
So we used to use it's the slide rule. I don't know if you heard of it, but it was before our times. But slide rule was used to calculate, bigger mathematical items. And after slide rule, we came calculator, right? Everybody started using calculator.
That one I know.
Right?
That one I know.
I know. So before that, people were to use to memorize, and then used to do quick computations and so on in our head. And so then we came, the PCs came out, computers, right? And now, we're now not even talking about PCs, we're talking about all kinds of tools, co-pilots, Gen AI tools, and it'll just keep
Better.
getting better and faster and superior. So, but behind the scenes, you have to be able to understand. Does it make sense, right? Um, if you're not able to, and if you're saying, okay, the Gen AI tool told me that I have to make this $50 million investment in this, but I cannot tell why it is, right? Then it's a problem, right? But yeah, I have to really figure out that it does make sense. So what we need is that is the ability of the human brain. The human brain, we have what is known as intuition. We have an able to look through the back of the envelope and say, hey, does it make sense, right?
That gut feeling people
Yeah,
say.
right. All of the holistic,
Right.
and that's what we have to develop. But also, we have to understand: does it make sense? What is Gen AI trying to do? What is agentic AI trying to do? We may not do all the calculation. We may not do all the things that it does in the background, but you should be able to tell. Well, for this kind of inputs, this should be the kind of outputs that I should be.
So
It
much,
makes plausible.
so much value, right? For those that are listening. I mean, again, I know I was kind of joking, but I'm really not. People out there are literally getting an MBA course around. This is excellent, right?
Right.
I'm not the full course, a portion of it,
Right.
obviously. But what you're saying, a couple things that I heard is number one, check that feedback loop.
Exactly.
Go back and follow up. Trust but verify, or some others, reverse that. Continuously learning, right? That continuous learning loop. The other thing that I really love that you said, and I'm a student as well, and what I'm learning about this is your scenario-based modeling or your scenario-based decision making. Right? Don't just focus on scenario A. What is B, C, D, E? Especially if you're thinking about investing some large amounts of money.
Right, and
I love that
prioritizing
you're
everything.
prioritizing.
Life is about prioritizing, right? If you think about it, right? All of us would be better off if we know what align everything to priorities and execute them, right?
Right.
And that's what it's all about. And that's where I think we should shape. We should also. Why are we even having guardrails? Why are we even having this discussion? Why are we having this forum? Because we all, as a humanity, want to advance in a way that it is what we call Pareto optimal, or mutually optimal for all of us.
Right.
If somebody is advancing at the expense of the others and it's not fair, it's not going to work. Right?
Equitable.
Right.
Yeah. This is excellent. Thank you so much.
You're
for
welcome.
your
My
time.
pleasure, Albert.
Yeah, great meeting you, sir.
Wonderful.
And, where can
Jason,
we find you?
pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
If you want to let the audience know, just again, where can we find you? Where can we follow
Sure,
a lot of this advice? I'm hoping you're posting some of this content because we need to continue to learn from you.
Absolutely. Like, first of all, they can reach me at LinkedIn,
Okay.
Venki Shankar, and also, my email is venki@venkishankar.com.
Excellent.
Feel free to email me, and I'm happy to, direct them to all the resources that they can actually help themselves. And I have my own webpage, which we need update. Thing which
Hey, we can help you with that.
Yeah, we can go to Lovable or we can go to Data Button. It can do your
There you
entire
go.
webpage for
Yeah,
you.
please do. I'm going to, because the way in which I'm rapidly, when my kids keep joking that, you know, that I'm 24/7. I'm wired, as you can see. And I myself need to really keep up with a lot of these things. So it'll be a pleasure.
Well, you just provided a ton of value, so thank you
My
so
pleasure,
much.
yeah.
Wow, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Really great meeting.
Great again.
Yeah,
meeting
thanks
you.
appreciate you.
for hosting.
Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
event. Good energy. Oh, we got more guests. They're lining up. They're lining up. I love it.
So this is
Wow.
my copy or your copy?
No,
your
this is
copy.
your copy. I'm so sorry. There you go. Yeah. No, thank you so much. Wow, that was amazing.
I use a Gen AI tool to.
Yeah. Use a Gen AI tool to read it. I love it. There was a ton there, right? So we had Ben who was talking about building startup, right? Some of the grassroots bootstrapping and some of the challenging of different thoughts. And then we had Professor Venki here who, wow, just at a whole nother level.
I think
as
one
well.
of the things I took from that is I was reflecting back on his answer on what is their future kids going to do. And I remember my guidance counselor, all of the roles that I've had since graduating high school, none of them were even envisioned at that time. There's
Right.
no cybersecurity, there's no solutions architect, there's no AI professional. All of these things are going to evolve and they are going to adapt and they're going to figure out and they're going to be able to start doing that. So I think, yes, absolutely.
You know what's interesting about that? And we heard it at the beginning of this year, kind of like the tail end of last year, is hey, quit thinking about the role. To your point, you don't even know what it's going to be in the future. Upskill.
I'm a marketing guy.
Continuously learn.
Yeah. Upskill. Learn as many skills. And right now, what's hot and what's really in the, finding its way in not just the mainstream in the news, but the infrastructure of how we do business or how we interact with each other, how we operate is artificial intelligence, agents, etc. So learn. It doesn't mean build, right? And I love that because you're very technical.
Yeah.
Don't let him fool you. He's very technical.